You're watching Fox 17 News.
Tonight, Fox 17 News is giving you 30 minutes of great storytelling with our secrets from the Ferrier files, including the biggest upset in college football history.
Fox 17 News also showing you a secret waterfall hidden in a busy part of Metro. And we're the only ones allowed inside for a special prison ministry.
Many of you may think you know the story of the Bell Witch from Robertson County very well. In fact, it's probably the most famous ghost story in America.
It is, despite some 30 books on this subject. Tonight, you will learn something never before reported. Fox 17 News' Dennis Ferrier has the story in his Secrets from the Ferrier files.
Why so famous? The only ghost claimed to have seen by a U.S. president, more than a dozen eyewitness accounts, including 2 well-respected ministers. But here's the thing. A modern descendant of John Bell has 2 terrifying ghost stories of his own.
Austin and Bell is the oldest funeral home in the state of Tennessee. 1842, the days of the horse-drawn hearse. The family bought funeral horses from the Jack Daniels. But as important as all that is, none of it compares to this family's true claim to fame, the Bell Witch.
Why do you trouble this family?
John Bell was allegedly haunted and murdered by the Bell Witch in 1820. The ghost allegedly beat and berated his daughter Betsy for years.
Betsy!
But what made it so believable were the dozens of witnesses.
There's evidence historically that this was not told just by one person. It was told by a lot of people in the community that witnessed it.
Danny Proctor plays John Bell in the popular Bell Witch play. Bob Bell is the actual 5th great-grandson of John Bell.
So this is where the entire story took place. And so this is a coveted place to come that people just aren't allowed to come here.
This story is so popular, Bob Bell has gone to great lengths to preserve family history. There's a large Bell Witch monument in Adams, Tennessee, but this is not where John Bell is buried. He's in a secret location.
We let it grow up on purpose so people can't find it. You can come back here and stand right within 20 feet of this grave and not know what's here.
In this place, on this ground, a mystery was born. Here are the facts.
You can see the Bell Witch story played out every October in Adams. The play is called Spirit, and unlike other plays you've seen, every line spoken is based on diaries.
Soon, after we had all retired, the disturbance commenced as usual.
Eyewitness accounts of the Bell Witch from 1818 to 1820. U.S. President Andrew Jackson was so taken with the story, he decided to come and see it for himself. He says his carriage wheels locked up right here on this old carriage road, and the ghost spoke to him. This battle-hardened man was terrified. The story is told around the world, but the story that is never told is what happened to Bob Bell in his grandmother's home the day the dishes flew out of the butler's pantry.
And every single piece of china had come out of that cabinet and crashed on the kitchen floor. It fell from 8 feet up and crashed on the floor and didn't break.
Every single piece.
Yeah, every single piece was still intact, and we can't explain that one.
Bob Bell swears he had an encounter with something in that same house. The thing was so loud he locked himself in a bedroom.
Then I heard the footsteps, and they got closer and closer and came all the way to the door and stopped. And I believe that's about as scared as I've ever been. My hair on my neck stood up. At that point, someone was in the house.
Bob Bell couldn't figure out why 2 terrifying experiences at his grandmother's house. John Bell has no connection to this house. He never lived here. But there is a connection. Later, in storage, they found an 1820 Bible belonging to the Bell family. They got rid of that Bible, and nothing ever happened again.
Bell makes a living preparing the dead for burial. He does not scare easy, and he's not superstitious, but he is careful never to make fun of the Bell Witch. Never.
For 2 years, they were basically overtaken by whatever it was.
How come me here?
So
So their life went from having grand ideas of having this beautiful farm in Tennessee, and then they had this event happen that just totally changed their life.
I wish I never was born.
Bob Bell says when the Blair Witch movie came out, for some reason it rekindled interest in the Bell Witch. Maybe the names were so close. Either way, between that and the play Spirit, the Bell Witch is back. I'm Dennis Ferrier, Fox 17 News.
The biggest upset in college history, just 3 hours from Nashville. It's the story you've likely never heard.
And a hidden treasure where you can find a waterfall in a busy section of Nashville.
The New York Times calls it the biggest upset in college football history. Nevertheless, it is a story few can tell.
Although in central Kentucky, where I'm from, it is legend. They call it the formula C6H0. Fox 17's Dennis Ferrier explains.
Center College in Danville, Kentucky is a 199-year-old liberal arts college sitting naturally in the dead center of Kentucky. There are gorgeous original buildings still standing, but the best story on this campus is linked to the only graffiti on campus, right here on the old post office. With an old-fashioned paintbrush, someone painted C6H0. They call it the formula.
And the reason that C6H0 matters so much to us at Center, and I think to our America, it's really not about football. It's even not about the game. It's a larger construct where the things that seem impossible are made possible.
It was 1921, a time when Southern football was a joke. If you wanted real football, you had Notre Dame and Newt Rockne, and even better, you had mighty Harvard. In fact, in 1921, Harvard had not been beaten in 6 years. They had won 7 national championships. And who were these praying colonels from rural Kentucky? They had one rickety bleacher and a couple hundred students. These guys were going to play Harvard? Hopeless, right? But here's the thing. Center had a quarterback named Bo McMillan who was probably the best player in America. He sure thought so.
Bo McMillan, if you could imagine, it was one of those guys that in the huddle, he would say to his teammates, I'm going to score on this play. And he would.
Still, this was Harvard. Unbeaten in 6 years, at home in front of 48,000 people. This was before TV, before radio, so people gathered in downtown Danville to listen to the game on telegram.
There was crowds of thousands in Danville and Somerset listening over the intercom. They had the thing wired up, and as soon they say Bo McMillan for 6 yards around the right end, and there'd be a cheer, and they would have to wait like a minute, and then they said, Bo McMillan tackled for a loss, 1 yard. Oh. I mean, it was, but you know, it's funny that the crowds would stand on end listening to this game.
Until Bo McMillan scored on a 32-yard run. David 6, Goliath nothing. The giant was toppled. C6H0. It was front page news in Boston.
The praying colonels came home to a hero's welcome. The governor was here to shake everyone's hand. There was a big parade down Main Street. Everybody showed up. There was a flatbed truck, someone playing piano, 2 saxophonists belting out the Center College song, and of course the paint buckets.
A young woman named Ruby Moss wrote a friend, quote, "The only thing I can say to describe is the town went wild. Every window in town received a coat of yellow paint. Center 6, Harvard nothing. It was real stuff too, not whitewash."
This was a little tiny institution in the South that went up and played in front of 48,000 people at Harvard in Boston, and they beat them. And it really was back then, would it be like us playing Alabama? Well, kind of.
In 1950, the Associated Press named it the biggest upset of the first half-century in American sports. The New York Times has called it probably the biggest upset in college football history. But here at Center, it's something different.
And so I think these kind of stories are worthy of being retold because they say over and over again, hard work, dreaming big, imagining what others can't imagine in this country is still possible.
I'm Dennis Ferrier, Fox 17 News.
Just ahead, a hidden gem where you can find a beautiful waterfall in a busy part of Nashville.
Only on Fox 17 News, an inside look at a special prison ministry.
You may not know this, but there is a gorgeous waterfall right here in Nashville, and now there's a new plan to make it part of a hiking trail.
Wouldn't that be neat? Fox 17 News' Dennis Ferrier explains why protecting this land is important in Secrets from the Ferrier Files.
This is a big dream, but so are Warner Parks, and can you imagine Nashville without them? This is on that scale.
At the end of the cul-de-sac on Hathaway Court, a big surprise, the West Mead Waterfall. Purchased by Metro, this little pocket park may not have much of a water flow, but after a rain, it can be spectacular, and it makes a pretty picture in any season.
It is some of the cleanest water in Nashville and just an extraordinarily beautiful place for some peaceful meditation.
The West Mead Waterfall is an important piece of property. To understand why, we need to head to Warner Parks. When the city bought and opened the Hill Forest, it opened an opportunity. Because if you continue north, you will find a pristine green corridor, a beautiful woods interrupted only by Highway 70S in Bellevue. And the woods start up again into the gorgeous Bell Forest.
What I love about this 4-acre parcel that we own is the natural beauty of it. When you approach it from the outside, there's a lot of invasive species that we've done a lot of work to get rid of. But when you get about 100 feet back in the property, this is native. These are native trees, native plants. This is exactly what Tennessee is made of.
Bell Forest also has the 2016 Tree of the Year and offers a wonderful hike between two ridges.
A few minutes on the trail and you have left Nashville behind. You have no idea that Five Guys and GameStop are right over the ridge. It's almost like walking in a giant bowl. The only thing you hear, your own footsteps and the birds.
10 Green owns 4 acres here, including the Bell Forest Cave. The cave goes hundreds of feet underground in both directions. The Parks and Greenways Foundation has a very big idea. They would like a public-private partnership to buy the woods between the Bell Forest Cave and the West Mead Waterfall and create a spectacular hike that would also protect wildlife.
As you reach the top of the waterfall, you'll cross over the Bellmead Wall that dates to early 1800. That was at one point sort of the frontier of Nashville. You're basically also covered in hundreds-year-old chestnut oaks and old-growth forest that you're 9 miles from downtown.
Imagine walking from Warner Parks all the way to the West Mead Waterfall, and then, with more land purchase, there's still a forest path all the way to the Cumberland River.
It sounds like there's a large gap, but it's not. When you look at a map, it's actually very, very close. And there's just a few parcels that could connect those to create a brand new experience for Nashvillians.
10 Green would like to build a wildlife bridge like this one over 70S in Bellevue and under the interstate near the river. This way, wildlife and people could use the corridor. If that sounds unlikely, keep in mind this is the group that saved Cummins Falls from being a subdivision, now the most popular waterfall in Tennessee. They think big and deliver big. And a trail like this, what other urban city in America could still do this? To walk from Warner Park to the Cumberland River? The biggest obstacle? Rapid growth, eating up land in Nashville.
We have to protect right now. We cannot wait.
The biggest fear in this plan, urban growth. We could tall and skinny this opportunity away. If you're interested in helping, we'll hook you up with Tennessee Parks and Greenways Foundation on our website. I'm Dennis Ferrier, Fox 17 News.
Not your typical prison outreach, the group using the Bible and songs to change lives.
The idea of allowing live music into a prisoner jail in Tennessee is so unheard of. It has only happened one time this entire year.
Having a prison concert, such a security nightmare, as you could imagine. Fox 17 News is the only media outlet invited to attend. Fox 17 News' Dennis Ferrier with a bold idea to change lives.
A lot of people would describe our prison system as a revolving door. Repeat offenders drive us crazy. But how about the people who go to jail and never come back? Now that's a story worth telling or even singing.
This is rare. Never happens anywhere else in Tennessee.
That's what got me here.
Only here at the Davidson County Jail. Send Musicians to Prison is singing to prisoners about their broken lives.
Not every guy in prison wants it. Some guys come in here and they are just trying to figure out how to do it again and not get caught. That's just true. But there are a lot of guys who come to prison who are broken and tired, who are desperate for something different, but don't know where to find it or how to find it. And those are the guys who need us.
Kurt Campbell can back it up. The men who complete his Men of Valor program stop committing crimes. 90% never reoffend. One of the tools used by Men of Valor, of all things, Bible study. 50 men studied the Beatitudes, the famous sermon of Jesus, with 8 promises.
Mercy for the killings, mercy for the cows.
50 Davidson County inmates journaled about the Beatitudes. And then 8 singer-songwriters took those journals and turned them into songs. A gift to the men who open their hearts to change. A reminder that God does not forsake the least of these.
You asked for silence, but I got a war inside.
Nathan Lee is the founder of Send Musicians to Prisons. A former teen sensation, Lee has given up record deals and tours for a truly captive audience.
And the only answer that I know is safe is because it's my responsibility, as whose isn't, to go love. So I have music. That's my thing. Well, we can all do it, and that's the end. To remind people that they matter, that they're not forgotten.
Lead me, love me, hold me in love unspoken.
This is the first time Malcolm Crawford has ever been incarcerated. He's 50 years old. It has shaken him up and cleared his head. He is clinging to the promise that blessed are the pure of heart.
It convicted me so because I realized that I could never do this, ever, in a million years without him. Never. Because it takes a very, very, very special type of person to be able to be humble, to stay at peace, to live righteous. Oh, man.
2 ministries working on the heart in different ways, working toward the same twist ending.
This is not the last chapter in your book. You hold the pen. This ain't it.
Send Musicians to Prison and Men of Valor, 2 prison ministries changing lives. Find out more on our website. I'm Dennis Ferrier, Fox 17 News.
Dennis, thank you. Some great stories. Hope you guys enjoyed them as much as we did. And we want to thank you all for watching Fox 17 News all year long.
That's right. And our many newscasts, many of them, in fact, are the fastest growing source for local news. So thank you so much for being with us.